Imagine a technology so incredibly sensitive you can pick up the faint heat of a person through thick fog, or, help a self-driving car navigate in complete darkness. How do we even measure these invisible forces? Well, today we're doing a deep dive into the really fascinating world of bolometers. We're going to unpack what they are, how they work their magic, and why they seem poised for some, well, pretty massive growth. And guiding us is a comprehensive market report from Cognitive Market Research, specifically their Bolometer Market Trends and Future Opportunities analysis. So our mission today: uncover the crucial roles these devices play sometimes in fields you might not expect, look at the hurdles they face, and get a sense of where they're heading. Okay, let's unpack this. So starting right at the beginning, for anyone new to this, what exactly is a bolometer?
Right. So at its core, a bolometer is it's a device built to measure the power of incoming electromagnetic radiation. Think infrared light mostly. It's almost like a super, super sensitive thermometer, but for light you can't actually see.
Okay, a thermometer for invisible light. How does that work?
It's quite clever, actually. They work by measuring a tiny, tiny change in the electrical resistance of a special material when that radiation hits it. See, the radiation warms the material just a fraction, and that temperature change alters its resistance. We can measure that change very precisely.
And what kinds of materials are we talking about?
Common ones include things like vanadium oxide or amorphous silicon, various other semiconductors too. They're chosen specifically for their, thermal and electrical properties. They need to react predictably to that tiny bit of heat.
Makes sense.
And they are absolutely vital in quite a few areas. Thermal imaging cameras, for example, they rely on bolometers to see heat. Spectroscopy uses them too, analyzing materials based on their unique infrared signatures. And maybe most profoundly, astronomy. They're essential for detecting really faint infrared heat from distant stars and galaxies.
Peering into the universe's secrets, essentially.
Exactly. It allows us to see things we otherwise couldn't.
That's fascinating. So you mentioned super sensitive. Can you give us a sense of how precise they are? And are they moving beyond these specialized fields, like into more everyday things?
Yeah.
What's driving this expansion you mentioned?
Ah, yes. Here's where it gets really interesting, as you say. The market growth is, well, it's explosive. According to that Cognitive Market Research report, the global market was valued around $851.6 million US dollars in 2024.
Okay, substantial.
But here's the kicker. It's projected to skyrocket to nearly $3 billion, $2,990.4 million to be precise, by 2032.
Wow.
That reflects a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 17%. 17% over that period.
That's a staggering number. What's fueling that kind of growth? Is it just more demand for thermal cameras?
It's broader than that. It's partly the increasing demand for just detecting infrared radiation with high precision, yes. But it's also the rising use of bolometers in all sorts of industrial and scientific applications. We're seeing a huge boost from thermal imaging and security, defense, industrial monitoring, places where getting detailed thermal information is critical.
So it sounds like the technology itself must be improving too, right? Enabling these new applications. It's not just market pull.
Absolutely. You've hit on a key point. Advances in the technology itself, like much better sensitivity and making them smaller, more efficient, that's playing a massive part. These improvements mean you can integrate bolometers into smaller devices, they use less power, they deliver more accurate data. That just opens up possibilities that maybe weren't feasible or cost-effective before.
Okay, so with those impressive growth numbers, where are we seeing bolometers making a real impact right now? Which sectors are leading this charge?
Well, we're seeing really robust growth across several key areas. Defense, automotive, and healthcare are definitely significant contributors. Their ability to give precise infrared readings is really driving expansion in these fields. They offer insights, thermal signatures that you just can't get otherwise.
Can you give some specific examples, like cutting-edge stuff happening now in 2024?
Sure. Think about autonomous vehicles. Bolometers help them detect heat signatures, people, animals, other vehicles, which is crucial for navigation and safety, especially, like you said earlier, in low visibility or darkness.
Right, letting the car see heat.
Exactly. And in medical devices, they're being used for non-invasive diagnostics. Detecting subtle heat patterns on the body might help spot inflammation or other issues early on.
Fascinating.
And environmental monitoring is another big one, using precise infrared detection to track ecosystem changes, monitor CO2 levels, even pinpoint heat leaks or pollution sources.
It really sounds like they're becoming this kind of invisible but essential layer in a lot of modern tech. How does this look globally? Is adoption uniform, or are there regional hotspots?
Good question. Looking at the 2024 market share, North America is actually the leader, holding about 40% of the global market.
Why is that?
It's largely down to their strong tech infrastructure, significant R&D investment, particularly in defense and aerospace. Those sectors demand high-end thermal imaging. Europe isn't far behind, holding around 30%. That's driven a lot by industrial applications, things like thermography for quality control and manufacturing, or monitoring industrial processes.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the big players now.
Right. But, and this is interesting, the Asia-Pacific region currently holds about 25% of the market, but it's projected to have the highest growth rate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a CAGR around 20%, potentially reaching 28% market share by 2025. This surge is linked to its expanding industrial base, particularly in places like China and India, plus rising demand for security and surveillance tech and just general adoption as those economies modernize.
So the fastest growth is actually shifting towards Asia Pacific.
It certainly looks that way, yes.
Okay, so with this kind of growth and adoption, it must be a pretty competitive space.
Yeah.
What gives bolometers the edge? Why are they often favored over other ways of sensing heat?
Oh, it's definitely competitive. You've got major players like FLIR Systems. They had about 15% market share in 2024. Teledyne DALSA with around 13%. Raytheon, maybe 10%. And these companies are pouring money into R&D, constantly trying to improve sensitivity, make them faster, boost overall performance. You also see a lot of strategic moves, mergers, acquisitions, partnerships to stay ahead.
But fundamentally, why choose a bolometer over, say, a thermopile or a pyroelectric detector?
It really comes down to accuracy and sensitivity, especially across the infrared spectrum. Bolometers generally offer superior performance in terms of both sensitivity picking up fainter signals and resolution seeing finer detail. In 2024, bolometers held a pretty dominant share, around 40% of the overall thermal detection market. Thermopiles were maybe 35%, pyroelectrics about 25%.
So a clear lead.
A clear lead, yes. And that share is actually expected to increase slightly, maybe to 42% by 2025, mostly because they're being adopted more and more in those high-precision, high-stakes applications we talked about earlier.
Right, so it's that ability to deliver really accurate, real-time thermal data. That's the key advantage, especially when reliability is critical. Could literally save lives or prevent major failures, I suppose.
Precisely. That level of detail is what makes them indispensable in many situations.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the growth, the applications, the advantages, but nothing's perfect. Are there challenges? What are the sort of hidden hurdles holding back even faster growth?
Yeah, that definitely raises an important point. No technology is without its limitations. The main constraint for bolometers is probably their sensitivity to environmental conditions.
How so?
Well, things like ambient temperature changes or even physical vibrations can significantly affect their performance and accuracy. Because they're designed to detect such tiny amounts of thermal radiation, even a small shift in the surrounding temperature can throw off the readings.
Like background noise interfering.
Exactly. We're talking maybe a change of just 1 degree Celsius, potentially causing a noticeable discrepancy in the measurement. This is a real headache in applications needing high precision scientific work, medical diagnostics, detailed industrial inspection.
Right, it's like trying to weigh a feather in a windstorm.
That's a good analogy. And mechanical vibrations, too, if the device is mounted on something that shakes or moves that can distort the reading, reduce accuracy.
So you need really stable conditions.
Ideally, yes. Or you need sophisticated thermal management systems and vibration isolation, especially for top-end applications. And then there's the challenge of packing all this sensitivity into smaller, portable devices without compromising that performance. Plus, ensuring reliability across different environments adds cost.
So making them not just sensitive, but also robust and stable in the real world, that's the trick. What are people doing to tackle these issues?
Well, a lot of research is going into material science, finding new materials with better thermal stability, materials less affected by those ambient shifts, and also developing more advanced vibration isolation technologies. These kinds of innovations are really crucial for bolometers to keep expanding their reach, especially as they get smaller and are put into tougher environments.
Okay, so if we look ahead now, connecting this to the bigger picture, what are the truly transformative developments we might expect to see on the horizon for bolometers? What's next?
Oh, the future looks incredibly dynamic. Several key areas are driving innovation. One is definitely those advanced materials we just mentioned. Researchers are exploring things like superconducting films, advanced nanomaterials. The goal is to dramatically boost sensitivity and efficiency even further, letting us detect even finer thermal variations.
Pushing the limits of detection.
Exactly. And there was a notable development in space exploration recently. In late 2023, NASA's Mighty Imuri project.
Mighty Mirai.
Yeah, it stands for Multidisciplinary University Research Initiative. They successfully developed a new kind of long-wave infrared radiometer. It's specifically designed to push bolometer technology forward for space missions, improving heat detection in those extreme conditions.
Wow. What could that lead to?
Well, it has huge potential not just for science, like mapping exoplanets or observing the early universe, but
Cool.
also for commercial uses, maybe improving satellite performance or Earth observation.
Very cool. What else is coming?
Miniaturization is a relentless driver. The demand for smaller, more efficient sensors is huge. So expect to see bolometers integrated more seamlessly into things like wearable health monitors, even smaller automotive thermal cameras, advanced aerospace systems. And there's also exploration into integrating bolometers with other technologies, like photonic circuits. Combining them could unlock new functionalities, enhance system performance in ways we maybe haven't even thought of yet.
So it really is this constant push for better resolution, higher sensitivity, greater reliability, especially for those critical sectors like defense, healthcare, environmental monitoring. Just constantly refining what seeing heat can actually achieve.
That sums it up perfectly. The bolometer market is really set for remarkable growth. It's being driven by these continuous advances in materials and how we integrate them, and just the sheer number of expanding applications despite those challenges we discussed. Looking ahead, manufacturers will absolutely prioritize developing those high-performance, stable materials and also finding ways to reduce costs through smarter manufacturing. And strategic partnerships, collaborations, those will be key to accelerating innovation and making this technology even more widespread.
So what does this all really mean for you, listening? Just take a moment and consider how many parts of modern life, maybe things you use every day, like your car's safety systems, or things further afield, like groundbreaking space science, rely on detecting invisible heat. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden technologies are quietly shaping our world right under our noses that we might not even be aware of? Keep digging, keep exploring, and definitely keep being curious.